as the sun sets on this Friday. I'm going to sneak in a quick but beautiful thought from the previous Rebbe Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, in this week's Parsha Vayakhel. And he asks a question. He was speaking to a group of women in 1930 something in Riga, Latvia. And he asked the question, he says, you know, the Torah, its lessons, its stories are eternal, and they apply to every Jewish home, every Mishkan. When they created the Mishkan, the temple, God said, "V'shachanti b'tocham," and I will dwell in them, not in it. And so too, every Jewish home becomes a temple, a tabernacle, a Mishkan for God's presence. So he asked the question, he said, there are two places in the Torah where God, speaking to Moshe, tells him, address the woman before the men. One is before Matan Torah, the actual giving of the Torah, which says, Daber kotomar lebeis Yaakov, v'daber b'nei Yisrael. First speak to the woman and prepare them for the Torah giving, and then speak to the men. And then the second time is over here, where the Jewish people were instructed to give their contributions to build, for the building materials for the Mishkan. So too, it says, Vayevohu ha'anashim al ha'nashim. It says that the women came first and the men followed them. So, what is this significance of the woman coming first? Says the previous Rebbe, and even a stronger question, he says when it enumerates all the gifts that they brought, when it comes to the gold materials, the golden materials that the women brought, it actually specifies, it details what kind of jewelry they brought, which is not done anywhere else in any of the other gifts. And this is what the focus of his talk was about. He said, why is it that the Torah specifies the four kinds of golden jewelry? They are chach, v'nezem, taba'as, v'chumaz. They are, according to the Ibn Ezra, the biblical commentator, translator, chach is an earring, nezem is a nose ring, taba'as is a finger ring, and chumaz is an armband. Earring, nose ring, finger ring, and armband. So, says the previous Rebbe, in short, because we're running out of time and the sun is setting on this Friday afternoon, he says that these four rings are actually four pillars of the woman's interaction with her home and creating a strong foundation for the Jewish future. And he explains. He says when a child comes home, and he says first earrings. He says children in the home. Actually, I'm going to rewind. He says earrings. First of all, the woman is the mainstay of the keres habayis, the mainstay of the home, and the men also obviously need to, learn from these lessons. But he spoke to the women specifically, and he said that they need to hear. Earrings represents our listening to the lessons that the Torah teaches us in how we should raise our family and how we should raise our children. Soll sein gesund. I read about a few hundred times he mentioned the children in this talk, maybe 100 times, or maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe 50 times, but each time, every single time, he said the Kinder sollen gesund sein. May they be well. Anyway, says the Rebbe that first of all, earrings, we need to know how to create a Jewish home for our children. And also, and equally important, we need to listen to our children. Earrings represents listening to our children. We need to listen to them, to listen to what they're talking about, listen to how they talk amongst themselves, and between their friends. And the previous Rebbe said that when you listen to your children, you will see what they are learning from you. It also reflects on ourselves, because most of the time our children are going to mirror and echo what we do and what we say. There's a lot of water here too. So that's the earring. Further on is the nose ring. The nose ring, says the Rebbe, represents our sixth sense, a sense of smell, like to feel someone out, to smell out the situation. It's more like the intuition. So it's not enough to just hear what your children are up to, what they're talking about, how they reflect us, how we need to improve in our home discussion and environment, but also what they're not saying. For this, you need a nose ring. You need the sense of smell, and to detect what is unspoken. Moving on, it says that then there's a finger ring. Fingering is for us to direct our children in the appropriate path, in the way that they're meant to go, in the Torah way, in the Jewish traditions. That's the fingering. And sometimes we need an armband. An armband is the discipline, the strength, and the power. We shouldn't be afraid to enforce what we know is the Torah way in the best possible ways that we can enforce it. So there we have it. There's 4 rings, 4 kinds of jewelry that are enumerated in the Torah, unlike anywhere else, not for the men or for the women, but specifically, said the previous Rebbe, this is a message from God to the mothers, the Jewish mothers, that it's in your hands to mold and to shape and to form the future Judaism of your family and your children with these 4 rings. The earring, you listen to God, listen to your children, and see how they reflect us. The nose ring, to use our intuition to understand and detect that which is unsaid, unspoken. The finger ring, to guide them and to point them in the right direction, and when necessary, the armband, to use the discipline and to enforce what we know is important. Now, for those of you who are still listening to this and learned, you will know that the sun is still there. That means the sun hasn't set. It's not Shabbos yet. You will know that Rashi, our main biblical commentator, explains and translates the 4th ring as a different kind of ring, not an armband, but he explains it as a ring where, at the time, in the olden days, some females would adorn themselves in their private parts. Says the previous Rebbe said that, he said it in a much more refined way. He said, Rashi explains this 4th ring to be a matter of taharas hamishpacha, of family purity. And the previous Rebbe said, and of course those who are here today with us now definitely observe the laws of family purity, and you know and you recognize how important it is for a Jewish household to abide by the laws. And he says, I implore you to do what you can to seek out your friends and neighbors who don't yet observe the laws of mikvah, of taharat hamishpacha, of family purity, and inform them and welcome them to learn and inspire them enthusiastically and kindly in the way only a woman can, to help them learn about the laws and observe them, thus ensuring the future holy Jewish generation. That's the story for today. This week is Shabbos, Parshat Vayakhel, where the 2 Torah portions, Vayakhel and Pekudei, are split, are separated. We're in the month of Adar. We are meant to be joyous and to rejoice. And it's also Shabbat Mevarchim, Adar Bet. It's a Shabbat that we're going to bless the second month of Adar, in which we will celebrate Purim in just a few days. God bless you. Shabbat Shalom. Take care.